Hi, everybody. My name is Thank you for joining us with Gentle Chair Yoga. My name is Batya Blumenthal. I'm the branch supervisor of the Putterham location of the Public Library of Brookline. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Friends of the Brookline Library who are sponsoring this Gentle Chair Yoga. And I would also like to acknowledge our friends at Big Brookline Interactive Group, who are our partners and allowing us um, to broadcast this through many more channels. Um, I'd like to take this opportunity to also um, just read off a quick disclaimer as we get ready for our practice. So the disclaimer is participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program. Thank you. And here is Keith.
Hi, good morning. I'd like to start with a sound. So actually, let's just sit up nice and tall in our chair. So we're starting in we call this seated mountain pose. And we'll do the sound in 1 minute. But it is important to have good posture when we do this. And just lean a little to the left and to the right. So you can really feel your bottom in the chair. It's good to have a chair that's not too hard, but if it's too soft, we feel kind of floaty in the chair. We want to feel grounded. And the same thing with our feet on the floor. We want our feet to feel grounded. The feet and the buttocks are what gives us the support in our seated mountain pose. So I'm going to rest my hands. I like to put them around the knees. Some people might like them on the thighs like this, or maybe even in the lap like this. It's really a personal preference. So go ahead and take a couple of breaths like this. Inhaling and exhaling. And now let's have that sound. So this is a singing bowl. I always like the quietness that comes whenever we do something that has a lot of sound in it, singing or listening to a singing bowl. When you stop, if everyone's quiet, there's this beautiful silence. And of course, it's not totally silent. The world is never totally silent. Now let's go ahead and let's drape our fingers over the knees like this. So notice my arms are straight. And we're going to begin with a few inhalations, lifting the heart forward. So I'll turn sideways so you can see. So notice the arms, notice the ankles are underneath the knees. So I have about a 90-degree angle here. And then I'm going to drape my fingers over the knees so they kind of hold on a little bit. And then I'm going to inhale and lift the heart. And then I'm going to exhale and kind of move the heart in. Notice how the shoulder blades start to spread apart. So I'm going to inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. You can even give a little sigh as you exhale. Remember that we all breathe at a slightly different pace. No two people breathe exactly the same. Try to find your own comfortable pace for the breath. So even if you see my movement slightly different than yours, that's okay. You can also give a little sigh as you exhale. Ah. So a sighing is a way for the nervous system. We have this natural response in our nervous system to relax when we sigh.
Now, in this moment,
we call that the sigh of relief.
Infrastructure.
The sigh of relief.
I would be surprised.
Inhale and exhale. And then we're going to bring the hands right on top of the shoulders like this. Actually, you can just palms are facing forward. And we're going to begin by just leaning to one side and then the other. So feeling the movement on the sitting bones. So the sitting bones are at the base of the pelvis underneath. And you can feel them. If you lean to one side, you'll feel one sitting bone lift up a little and the other one feels heavy. And then I'm going to go back and forth like this. If you find that this is engaging for the abdomen, so we're working on the core muscles here. So if you find it's too engaging and you have arms on your chair, or you want to bring your hands down on the side of the chair, you can do that too. So this gives a little more support, and there's less support here. And you can even, if you want, raise the hands a little bit. So remember, as you raise the hands up, we get a little more weight going out over the side. So it's now going to be a little bit more work for the abdomen and especially the sides of the body, especially the sides. Notice the weight shifting between the feet. So as I lean to one side, this opposite side wants to lift up. So why don't we let it lift up? And then the other side. So remember, you can adjust where the arms are. The further the arms are out, the more you lift the foot up, the harder it becomes. So just be mindful of that. Please don't overdo. We always want to practice in yoga. They say the most important yogic principle in Sanskrit is called ahimsa. And ahimsa means nonviolence. So we want to be kind to ourselves, especially these days. And then we'll go ahead and bring the hands down, and then slowly we'll stop in the middle. And then we're going to bring the hands up again and move the elbows back. So one elbow and then the other. You might try closing the eyes here. If you're comfortable, try closing the eyes and going slowly. Don't bang your elbow. And thinking about, if you notice, my head doesn't turn on my shoulders. It's just sitting there. My shoulders are turning, but the head is staying relative to the shoulders, is staying in the same spot or about the same spot. I could turn my head like this, but this isn't a turning for the neck, which is the easiest part of the body to turn. So the neck and the lower back are usually the easiest to turn. I'd like to feel a little more turning going on between the shoulder blades. And I'm going to stand up so you can see behind me. I'm going to turn around. You're welcome, if you'd like, you could do these exercises standing. But notice my elbows are going back, and I'm moving the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades are moving back and then going back in the opposite direction. So I'm really starting to wake up that area of the spine between the shoulder blades, that we call that the thoracic area. And that's an area that often gets stuck on people, especially when we sit in a chair so much. We sit in a chair, we're at the computer, we're like this, hunched over. It's so much better to practice. If you can sit at the computer, remembering to keep yourself a little bit lifted, it's very helpful, or to even just change your position periodically. And let's go ahead and do some movements with the arms and the breath together. So we'll inhale up and exhale down. Inhale up and exhale down. And this is one of my favorite movements. I do this pretty much every day in some form or another. And I think almost every class I teach. The reason I like it is because as I lift my hands up, I get a chance to extend the spine up. I get a chance to feel like the spine is lifting up. And so I'm getting that axial extension of the spine, and I'm getting that opening of the heart. So this opening, actually, let's try this. Bring the hands back together. So this is a heart opening like this. So if you want to look down slightly at the front of the belly and the chest, notice that when you move the hands out to the side, the sternum, the breastbone moves forward. And there's this spreading across the chest. And then I come back, and as it relaxes, it becomes straighter again. So I'm inhaling, and that's going to start to move those shoulder blades in and out. I'm going to turn around to show you again. So before we were twisting, now we're moving the shoulder blades together. So you want to see them coming, they spread apart and then together. And you can even accentuate the spreading apart and coming together if you start to bring the hands together and then bring the elbows towards each other. So the elbows may or may not touch. We don't want to force the elbows together, but if you start to bring the elbows a little closer, you'll feel the shoulder blades, you'll feel more space between this area back here. So you want to encourage that area to open up. And let's go back to that movement. So see if you can remember the opening feeling back there as you lift the arms up and let them swing around. And you can make these circles any size you want. You can make them relatively small like this, depending on your shoulders. You can even, actually, let's do this. Let's start it small, and we'll make them larger until it doesn't feel like we want to go any larger. So everybody's different. So if we all start together and think small, and then start to spiral the hands. So you really have to focus in on each circle's a little bigger than the other one. And then we're adding the breath. We have the breath going. So we're inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up. And you're welcome to give a sigh if you want. Exhale down. And notice this, the circles are getting a little bigger. And when you get to this part where your shoulders say to stop, when you get any discomfort in the shoulder, or you start to get your range of, you've reached a limit for your range of motion, just stop there and maybe even go back a little bit and see if you can relax as you move the arms around. So in yoga, we often talk about balancing ease and effort. So here's your chance. And then we'll go ahead and we'll bring the hands together. And now let's do it the other way. So we're starting small circles. So this would be as if we drop the hands down and then palms come up and around, but we're starting small right in the front. And then we're going to start to make them a little bigger. You might even notice the chin lifts up and down a little. There's a little dipping in the chin. And you might notice as the circles get bigger that the pelvis begins to rock a little bit. So when we move one part of the spine, it moves the other. We have those three areas of the spine, the lumbar, the thoracic, and the cervical spine at the back of the neck. And when we move one area, it moves the others. There's that song about the bones connected, the ankle bones connected to the shin bones connected to the knee bone. I don't know if anybody sings that anymore, but everything's interconnected in the body. And let's start to make the circles smaller. So we're getting smaller and smaller, as if I was just moving my hands, they'd be getting smaller and smaller like this. And then we'll go ahead and rest, and we'll roll the shoulders. And let's do one shoulder and then the other. So when we roll the shoulders, see if you can keep the face and eyes relaxed. So this whole area up here, the jaw is relaxed. So we get nice movement in the shoulders, but the rest of the body, I mean, the spine, we need a little effort here to keep the spine lifted, but we're not overdoing it. We're not tying this movement of the shoulders with other parts of the body. Sometimes we tend to have parts of the body that are kind of unrelated and they're working at the same time. That really just creates tension in that extra area. And we'll go ahead and sit up nice and tall. And let's take a few cactus breaths again. So inhaling and exhaling. And if you're tired of sitting, your balance is good, feel free to stand up here. Feel free to stand up if you want. And then we're going to give a little hug as we come together. It is nice, though, to have the chair right behind you. So if you get tired, you can just sit down. And remember, we have a lot of different elevations for the hands. So the hands, we don't lift the elbows higher than the shoulder. We don't go up like this, but you can be anywhere between about the elbow at shoulder height and even down here, down around the waist. So depending on how your shoulders feel. And you'll notice that the shoulder, when it opens, it feels it's different. You'll feel different parts of the chest opening. I get a little more opening as if I raise the elbows up, I feel a little more opening in the upper part of the chest. And if I have the elbows down like this, I feel a little more opening down here in the lower part of the rib cage. And then we'll come back and let's start with a warm up. So a range of motion on all the joints. It's really important to keep the joints lubricated. So every joint has fluid in it. And with a little daily or regular movement of the joints, it helps keep them more fluid. It might not eliminate all your problems, but it usually makes things feel a little better, hopefully. And so I'm going to open and close with the hands. And notice when I spread my fingers apart, there's no tension in it. So it's almost like a gentle opening. And then I'm going to add the wrist. Actually, let's do the wrists like this. The wrists are going around in a circle. The elbows are right by the sides here. So with my elbows in towards the sides, I'm not hugging them in, but they're hanging down at the ribs. And if they're in by the ribs, it's easier to keep the shoulders relaxed. And let's go the other way. And if you want, you can add the finger movement with the wrist movement. So that as the wrists come around, the fingers open, and when they come in, they close. Feel free to vary the speed. Oh, and actually, I think we did this. I'm going to use a block, but remember, you can use a towel as well. You can put anything really that's not too heavy to help engage the inner thighs. Sometimes the inner thighs don't get a lot of work, and I'm really just squeezing enough to hold the block. I'm not squashing the block. I'm just gently squeezing the block. And let's see, so we're doing this movement with the fingers and the wrists. And then let's rest the hands and touch the shoulders. And I'm going to start to lift the elbows up and continue to bend the elbows. So I'm moving the shoulders at the same time I'm bending the elbows. And eventually my hands get to the point where I'm either touching the backs of my shoulders, and my shoulders say it's high enough. So remember, we want to make sure that the shoulders feel okay when we do this. And then we're going to start to go back down. This reminds me of when you have the jack and you jack your tire up, you have to do it like a bunch of times. And then we rest the hands. And remember, you can keep the block in. You can also adjust the block or your towel. So if you have a bigger, thicker towel, depending on how big your pelvis is, you might want something a little bit wider. And let's go ahead and sit up nice and tall. And we're going to do let's do the shoulders. it's handy if we start with range of motion in the fingers. We work our way up the arms. We did fingers, wrist, elbow, shoulders, and then we're going to do the neck next and roll the shoulders in both directions. And then we're going to do the neck. We're going to sit up nice and tall. So we want to get nice length whenever we move the spinal, different parts of the spine. We want to sit up tall to build length in the spine first, and then we can exhale and let the chin come down. So we're going to just lift and release with the breath. So we're inhaling, the chin lifts up, and exhaling, it goes down. And I'm going to turn sideways. It's important not to drop the head too far back. So notice that if my head goes too far back, the curve here, it kind of disappears. It basically becomes like a right angle. And I want to maintain that curve. It's much healthier for the neck to not overbend it. So when I lift up, I can feel that now it's curving a little too much. So that's about as far as I go. So for me, I'm just really looking up kind of at the corner on the opposite side of the room. I'm not looking up at the ceiling like this. And there are some people who can bend their neck back without difficulty. But I find that it's a much better experience to have just a little bit of lift in the chin. And then we're going to sit up tall and softly exhale and let the ear come closer to the shoulder. You can also put the hands together to make a little pillow and kind of wedge it or place it on top of the shoulder and then rest the ear almost like you're going to go to sleep. Actually, I've seen people actually, when they don't have a pillow, use their hands on the floor for a pillow. And it's nice because when we relax, as we exhale, we relax, and we get a nice lengthening, a nice gentle stretch on that side of the neck that's facing the ceiling. And I let the weight of the head do the work here. You can also close the eyes. That's nice. Almost like you get a little more sleep. A little more sleep. Notice I'm going kind of slow. I'm giving the side of the neck a chance to release and relax. If I go too fast, it becomes more like a calisthenics or a gym class. And let's do it this way. We'll take one hand and just gently swing the hand. Like you're kind of sweeping, maybe like you're throwing it's a curtain in front of you and you're opening and closing the curtain like this. So there's a little dip in the hand, and then I'm letting my head, my eyes and head follow my hand. So there's a slight dip down, but it's mostly side to side. You could even flatten it out, and you could even go like this if you wanted in the beginning. And then switch your hands. This can even become like a meditation. If you find that you get at all dizzy, or it starts to make you dizzy, do it more slowly. So for some people, if you turn the head too quickly, they get dizzy. So we don't want to do that. And slowing things down is often a good way to, if there's any sort of balance or equilibrium issue, slowing things down can sometimes make that less or make it go away. And then let's roll the shoulders. And then the other way. Now we're going to start right in the front. I'm going to hold up, I'll mirror you, my left hand. And I'm going to start by just moving my finger around like this. And you might not think it's doing much, but we want to focus on feeling feeling the very base where the finger connects with the hand, and see if you can move the finger around right there. So my finger is straight, my fingers actually relax. And then I'm going to start to do the wrist like that. Notice my elbow is not moving, my shoulder is not moving. And then I'm going to start to do my elbow, or kind of just circling the hand around. So now my shoulder and elbow are moving a little bit. And then I'm going to follow my hand as it gets a little bit bigger with my head. Being careful not to drop the head back too much. And then I'm going to pause there. I'm going to go the other way. And this really, if you really focus on watching the hand going around, this really becomes like a meditation. And starting to make the circles a little smaller. And then finally, we're just going to move the wrist around. And then just back to the finger. So now the finger is going in the opposite direction as when we started. And we'll put that down. We'll do the other side now. So we'll hold our finger out and start in one direction. Doesn't really matter which one. And I know that this finger does not work as well as the other one. It's not, it's kind of, it wants to do this. And I'd like it to go in a circle. And now start to make the wrist going around in a circle. So you can just soften the fingers, relax the fingers. You can even wiggle them like this a little while you're going in a circle. So notice the elbow is not really moving. And if you find the elbow keeps moving on you, you're welcome to just take the other hand and hold the elbow. Maybe give it a little support. And it will probably move a little less. And now we're going to start to let the shoulder and the elbow and the hand go around. And then I'm going to start to make the circles a little bigger. So imagine there's a spiral in front of you. Like the, I just saw part of the Wizard of Oz. And in the Yellow Brick Road, at the beginning, towards the beginning of the movie, when Dorothy starts out towards Oz, it starts in the middle and it spirals out. So imagine your hand is going down the Yellow Brick Road, and then let's go the other way. And then as we continue, we're going to start to spiral the hand in. So the circles are getting smaller and smaller until finally it's just a little bit of the wrist. And then finally the finger. It still doesn't want to go in a circle the other way either. So, and let's just shake out the hands. Maybe that'll make it feel better. And okay, so we did up the arms, and then we did the neck. So let's do the feet. And for this one, I like to use the back of the chair. So feel free. You don't have to. It's harder, though, to not use the back of the chair. We're going to lift the feet off the floor and then circle the ankles around. So you could also, another option is if you're into standing, and it's nice to have options, just remember your balance. If you're into standing, so if you're seated, continue to circle your legs around. If you want to stand and do it, obviously you can't do both feet, but you could do one at a time. Standing like this. And remember, always be careful about your balance. So if there's any issue with balance and you want to stand, rest your fingertips on the chair. You have something that if you need to, you can hold on. And then we'll rest our feet. Now we're going to rock our feet. And you could actually do this standing too. And the same thing, remember your chair. If you're standing up, if you've never, so it's definitely feels kind of weird rocking back and forth on the feet. Definitely harder to balance. So only if you have really good balance would I suggest rocking on the feet standing. The one nice thing about it is if you're sitting, you can get a little bit more lift in the heels and the toes. You can't get as much lift standing. So I'm rocking back and forth. And let's add the hands to it. I'm going to rock the hands back and forth too. So I'm going to bring the hands up and then down and up and out. And then back and up and out. You can vary the how far the hands are going. So I'll turn sideways so you can see. So you could have your hands going just a little bit, like the feet are only moving a little. They're really just rocking. So you could even just have the wrists rocking like this, or you could add a little bit more movement if you wanted with the hands. Almost like a kind of a drawer going out and coming back in, like you're opening and closing a drawer. And imagine if you are a smooth, a drawer that glides really well. So we want to have this nice feeling of gliding. And then we'll come back. And let's try this. Let's actually continue with that for a minute and then go up and around. And see if you can slow the feet down. So I'm coming up and then down and around and up and down and around. And let's go the other way. I've actually never done this before, so we're experimenting. This is an experiment. The other thing you can do to experiment is, remember, you got your block. Try a block in with it and see what that feels like. If you have a block or a towel, if you want. So this reminds me a little bit more of if you've done Tai Chi like this, where there's a sort of a floating up of the hands and then a floating down of the hands. We won't do that right now, though. We're going to pat one knee and just lift it up and swing the knee like this. Swing the knee. So feel an engagement here along the front of the leg, the hip flexors, as well as the belly, especially on the side with the knee that's lifted. There's a lot of action going on here in the core muscles. And I'm swinging. And then I'm going to swing the opposite hand. Just slow my foot down a little bit too. I guess I could. I don't like this for my arm, so I swing my arm kind of slowly from doing my leg together. And then I'll switch sides. And pat the other knee, lift it up. Just pause there for a minute with the foot dangling. And then go ahead and swing the foot. Start by swinging the foot. And then we're doing the hand on the opposite side. Almost like I have this connection between my hand and my fingers and toes, say. Like a string. Like there's strings attached from each of my fingers down to each of my toes. So see if you can imagine, see if you can feel your fingertips. See if you can feel your fingertips. And then as you come up with the fingers, as you open, feel them lifting gently on the toes down below. And since you have 5 fingers and 5 toes, you might be able to feel a connection between each one of them. So it would be the thumb and the little pinky toe. And then let's even start with that, the thumb and the pinky toe and the pinky finger and the big toe. So just feel the connection. Oh, that's even better. Kind of like a marionette. If you've ever done a marionette with the strings, if you see somebody with a marionette, they work the strings with their fingers. So think about this connection between these 2 outside fingers and the 2 outside toes. And let's try that on the other side too. So pat the other knee, lift it up, and then go ahead and swing. And see if you can feel that connection. You might even try closing the eyes. So we're not seeing a connection, we're feeling it. So we've got to connect the mind with the foot and the hand. And let's go ahead and rest the foot down. And we'll do some pointing and flexing for the feet. We'll point and flex. Now let's do this. Let's hold the hands out as well. And we'll point and flex the fingers as well, or I should say that really the wrists. So we're pointing, and as I point, I'm bending, I'm letting my wrist kind of bend down. Not really forcing it down as much as relaxing it and letting it hang down. And then when I come up, I'm moving my wrist back. And so I know for me, one of my wrists moves back better than the other one. In other words, I can move, this one doesn't move back so far, and this one moves back more. And some people can really bend their wrist way back. So it's really it's really how your body is. And remember, you can always rest. You could even, if it's, so this might be too much. So when we take away our 2 feet, our support in our legs, you might find it's too much. So you might just be able to do one side. If you're getting any discomfort in the lower back or pain in the lower back when you lift up 2 legs, always just work with one at a time. And then we'll switch sides. Remember, you can do 2 legs or 1 leg at a time. You can even start to imagine the connection again between the fingers and the toes here if you want. And then we'll come down, then we'll lift up and down. Go ahead and start by resting the hands right on the thighs. So you'll feel the quadricep shorten and contract. So if I tap on here, it's firm, very firm. And then when it comes down, it softens. Now it's soft. And then I want to do the other side. I always want to make sure that I give the muscles a chance to relax. So we ask them to work, and then we soften them and we do the other side. We're going to go back and forth. And then if you'd like, you can add lifting the arm up. So I'm going to do the opposite arm here. So try lifting the opposite arm up. It does require a little bit more effort to stay lifted, to keep your good posture. So go ahead and scoot all the way back and notice your posture for a moment, and then try the exercise again. So when we take that foot away, it means that we only have 2 supports now, this foot and the buttocks. And actually, let's do this. Let's come forward a little. And let's lean forward. We're going to come back to that in a second. And notice when you lean forward that you can feel the weight on the bottoms of the feet. And then as you come back up, think about pressing the feet into the floor to help push you back up. So I want to engage the feet, the weight in the feet here as I press to come back up. And now we're going to come back in our chair again. So just what we were doing before. And then we've got this lifting of the leg up. Think about pressing the opposite foot down into the floor. So as I lift the leg up, I press the foot. And this is something that sometimes it's actually easier. If you're all the way in the back of the chair, it can be harder to feel the foot pressing. You could also slide forward a little bit and see if that helps feeling makes it easier to feel like you can press the foot into the floor. So as I extend the leg, I press the foot. You might also notice that it's harder to extend the straight leg. It's harder to straighten it if you're not using the back of the chair. So it's definitely more challenging to do it this way. So if you want more of a challenge, slide away from the back of the chair, press the foot down and straighten. And then if you want even more of a challenge, you can add the arm to it. You can add the arm to it. And let's do this. Let's, as we straighten like this, take the opposite hand and gently press it into the, I'll turn a little so you can see. Find a spot on the chair where you can take the fingertips, kind of like a spider, and put the fingertips on the chair like this to help give a little more lift. So when I use my fingertips, we often, when we're in a seated, if you ever do seated poses, actually, let's do this. We'll practice. We'll come back to that in a second. Take your hands like this and bring it to the side of the chair and then press the fingertips. So I'll turn sideways so you can see. I'm going to press my fingertips and it's going to help to lift. I can get a little bit more lift or feeling of lift by gently pressing the hands or the fingers. And for some people, so if you have really long arms, you might actually want to use the palm. I have kind of shorter arms. So in order to feel the lift, I like to use my fingertips. So it's kind of, you have to figure out, how can I take my hands, put them next to me with my heart open here because my hands are slightly back, and then lifting up. I don't know if you can see that I'm lifting my heart up. So as I extend my spine up, I'm also pressing my fingers or palms in, and that helps to lift up. And I'd like to do that without overdoing the work in the shoulders. So if you find that you're pressing down and your shoulders are up at your ears, it's probably not, it's probably overdoing. So I press less here. So let's go back to that other. So we're doing some leg lifting. And so remember, you can use the back of the chair and you can still, so I'm lifting the leg, I'm pressing this hand down, I'm pressing the foot down, and I'm lifting the arm up. So I'm pressing, arm up, leg up. Pressing, arm up, leg up. And I'm going to try to find a little rhythm here. See if you can get some rhythm going. And see if you can feel a little taller. So I'm the foot pressing and the fingers pressing helps me feel a little taller. Almost like I'm going to float up out of the chair. And you can vary the speed. You can also add the breath to it and make it just so we're always breathing. We never hold the breath. But you can make it so that I'm inhaling up and exhaling down. Inhaling up. Inhaling up. Inhaling up. Let's come down. Let's rest for a moment. Take a couple of breaths here. So if you need to, feel free to adjust the back of the chair with a blanket. You're always welcome to, for some people, a little lumbar support might be nice. So a cushion or a blanket down at the bottom can be nice. And because we're at home, we can do these things, and there isn't, we just have to find stuff around the house. And most people have things like a cushion or blanket or a small pillow. Or even like the back of this chair is kind of hard, so it can be nice to have a blanket on it. And let's do some cactus breaths, inhaling and exhaling. If you're tired of sitting, feel free to do these standing. We did this before earlier. Feel free to do these standing if you're tired of sitting. And we'll do 3 more. So we'll do inhale. It's 1, 2, and 3. And bring the hands down. Let's roll the shoulders. So hopefully everybody's warmed up enough. We're going to do one more seated exercise. We're going to slide our buttocks forward in the chair so that the feet are still underneath, the ankles are still underneath the knees. Or if you want, you can slide them out a little bit more. And then I'm going to circle the shoulders around. Almost like I'm stirring. Actually, let's do that. Let's so imagine you have a pot of soup or something in front. It is kind of a soup day anyway. It's been kind of soup weather, or it almost felt like it was getting to be really springtime, and now it's gotten kind of cold again. Not cold, but it's not like great to be outside. It's not like you're taking your, you don't have to wear a jacket. You still have to wear a jacket and maybe a hat. So we're stirring as if I had a giant pot and I had put a spoon in it and I'm stirring it around. So the bigger the pot you have, the wider you stir, the more challenging it is. So remember to not over challenge yourself. So if you have pain in the back or discomfort, your circles are probably too big. We'll go the other way. Depending on how far you are from the back of the chair, too, will determine how much you can lean back. So when I lean back, when you lean back, you really feel the abdomen here. And when you lean forward, it's a little bit more in the back muscles. And when you lean to the side, you feel the side muscles more. You might even notice the weight moving from one foot to the other, from one buttock to the other as you circle. And that, again, is largely a function of how big a circle. You're also welcome, if you want, to think about more of an axial extension in the spine. Make the circles a little smaller. So focusing a little bit more on lengthening, almost like I'm going to stand up out of the chair. I feel like there's this rising up in the spine. So my feet are pressing down and there's this lifting up. I'm not actually standing up. And let's come back and let's roll the shoulders. I'm going to stand up next. So if you're standing, we're going to do our balancing pose. We're going to, first we're going to do Tadasana, standing Tadasana, or you can do seated. So Tadasana is mountain pose. So mountain pose is what we started with. So you can do it seated with the ankle underneath the knee and then the knees underneath or the hips underneath the shoulders. Sitting up nice and tall with the hands out on the knees, or you can do it standing. So it's really your choice, depending on how you're feeling right now. So with mountain pose, it can also be nice to use our whatever between the thighs. It's a good way to start to wake the thighs up, and start by lifting and spreading the toes. So go ahead and look at your toes and lift and spread them. So mine are in socks. I think you can see them. But I'm just lifting them up and spreading them out to the side. You can see my pinky toe go out to the side a little bit. This is a really good exercise to lift and spread the toes. Is really good for waking the feet up. This helps to feel the balls of the feet especially. So when I lift and spread my toes, I can feel the weight on the balls of the feet just underneath the toes. And then I'm going to stand up nice and tall by lifting my chest up and moving my shoulders back and down. So when we do this, when we do mountain pose, imagine that there's a lifting here in the front, almost like a circle. I'm going to turn sideways. So there's this lifting here along the front, and then it circles down and the shoulder blades go down the back. So there's this lifting in the front and opening in the chest, and the shoulder blades are going down. And you just need to make sure the belly doesn't start to stick out. Sometimes the belly wants to stick out. So we slightly engage the belly by moving the navel back towards the spine. So I'm not gripping with the belly, but I'm engaging it enough so there's a little bit of movement in the belly, just a little bit of movement. And that's going to help to stabilize the pelvis when we give a little contraction in the buttocks. So let's try those things all together. So we lift and spread the toes. We feel the balls of the feet, the heels of the feet. So we want to feel even on the feet. And then we're going to very gently bring the inner thighs towards each other and gently squeeze the buttocks together. So all the things that we're doing now are maybe 50% effort, maybe 50% effort, maybe even a little bit less. We're really just looking for engagement and lift here. If you do too much, everything just gets tense and it's hard to move the body at all. And then we're going to lift the front and then roll the shoulders down. So we lift and then roll. So we get this movement up, and then the shoulders are moving down and the fingertips are moving down. So there's this rising up in the front and movement down in the back. And then remember, we're engaging the belly, engaging the buttocks, and then extending the back of the neck. So try tucking the chin just a little bit and letting the chin move in towards the throat. So it's almost like a turtle. Have you ever seen a turtle? Sometimes they'll go into their shell, they'll go like this. So think about bringing the chin down, but also bringing the chin back slightly without overdoing it, because you'll find that if you overdo it, you'll strain the neck. We don't want to do that. It's just a slight engagement. So let's try that again. Lift and spread the toes. Feet are firmly planted. Buttocks move in. Belly moves in. Lift in the front. Shoulder blades down. Fingertips are moving down. So the arms are stretching. Back of the neck is long. And we're just barely tucking the chin. And while we do this, the eyes are still soft. So see if you can give a little smile. So we've got all this stuff going on in the body, but the face is relaxed. And this is mountain pose. And mountain pose is important because all these things that we do, these engagements of the different parts of the body, are what we need to do when we do standing poses. Okay, so let's relax for a moment. So we're going to do our balancing pose. We're going to do tree pose. So in tree pose, we'll start in mountain pose. And then we'll stand up nice and tall and just give your right leg a pat like this. And then turn the left knee out. And then just bring it back. And we'll do that a couple of times. So there's an opening in the groin here. An opening in the groin. And then we'll turn. And then you can bring the toe in and rest it on the floor with the sole of the foot by the ankle. Or you can even bring the sole of the foot on the inside. And make sure when you do this that the buttock on the standing leg is engaged. Otherwise, there's a tendency sometimes for the hip to go out to the side. So we want to engage the buttock. So we're pressing the foot, extending the leg up, engaging the buttock, which is what we just did in mountain pose. And then we're bringing the sole of the foot there. And if you want, you can add your arms. If you're using a chair, if you're working with a chair, it can be in the front or it can be on the side. Front or side. And let's come back down. We'll do the other side. So you could also do the chair with the side. You may need to switch sides if you're doing this chair on the side. So we start in mountain pose. Feel the feet pressing. Feel the buttocks engaged. The belly's engaged. Standing up nice and tall. The arms are moving down. The fingers are moving down. And then we'll go ahead and we'll pat the opposite leg. And then we'll just let the knee kind of roll out to the side. So you may feel when you do this, actually, there's a little opening. In order to turn the leg out, we have to engage some of the gluteal muscles here. That's actually what rotates the leg out to the side. And then we'll go ahead and find that spot for our balance. And then keeping that other buttock engaged too. So the gluteal muscle on this side is engaged. And remember, if you have your chair there, you can rest your fingertips on there. You can bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. And if you come down, and we all lose our balance now and then. If you come down, just come right back. Find your balance. And then if you want, you can add your arms. And remember to breathe. Still breathing. And then come on down. And so remember, on any of these poses, you can always come down whenever you want. You can always come down whenever you want. And we will go ahead and sit back down. And we'll take a few breaths. We'll inhale and exhale and give yourself a little hug. So you have a choice on the hugging. You can hold the elbows like this. You can grab hold of the upper arms, or you can take hold of the shoulders or even the shoulder blades behind. Remember to try and change the cross of the arms so that the top arm changes each time. And we'll sit up nice and tall. I'm going to circle the shoulders around here. And for this one, think about, let's make it a small circle, thinking about lengthening the torso. So we were working on mountain pose, and if you were doing it seated, you were still pressing the feet and still engaging the quadriceps and still extending up. When we're seated, we extend up more out of the sitting bones where the base of the pelvis is. So let's try that here, sitting up nice and tall out of the base of the pelvis and then circling the shoulders around. So we want to feel we're lifting the whole body up. You might even feel the ribs lifting up a little bit. But I'm not doing this with the shoulders, though. I want to make sure the shoulders are relaxed. So the spine is lifting up in the center. And then when the spine lifts up, it lifts the rib cage. And you might even feel like it's lifting the collarbones, but not the outsides of the shoulders. They're hanging down. You could even, if you wanted, let the arms hang down like this. And go the other way. So we're going to come into our final relaxation pose. So it's nice to make this as comfortable as you can, whether it's with something to pillow behind you or something behind you to support the lumbar spine. Can be nice. I'm going to actually do that today, I think. And then also maybe something to keep you warm. So depending on how warm or cold your house is, you might want to put a wrap on, even a blanket. You could even put a blanket on your legs. So we'll often, when we're laying down in Shavasana on the floor, because the floor tends to be cold, you're also welcome to work on the floor. You could lay down on the floor. Or if you had a bed, you could lay on the bed. Just make sure it's not too spongy. So we still would like the body to be relatively, to feel supported. Not like we're laying on like a feather bed. So if you're seated in a chair, go ahead and sit up nice and tall. And if you're laying down on the floor, you can let the arms hang off to the side like this. They're about a 45-degree angle for the arms and the legs. But we'll focus more on the seated for now. So allowing the eyes to close whenever you're ready. And coming back to the breath. If you want, you can rest your hand on the belly and feel the belly going in and out with the breath. Relaxing the face and the eyes, and softening the jaw and the tongue and the throat. Relaxing the back of the neck. Relaxing the shoulders and the shoulder blades. Softening the arms, the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, hands, and fingers. Softening the arms. And relaxing the heart and the chest and the front ribs. And releasing the back, the middle back and the lower back. Softening the buttocks and the hips and the groins. Relaxing the thighs. Relaxing the knees. Softening the shins and calves. Relaxing the ankles. The fronts of the ankles, the sides and the back. And softening the feet, the tops of the feet, the soles of the feet, the insides of the feet, and all the toes from the big toe out to the little toe, they all relax. So each time you breathe in, feel a little gentle lift. And that really means gentle. So it's really the slightest support for the spine. And then when I exhale, I soften. You can even imagine, if you want, as you're exhaling, that this wave of relaxation starting at the top of the head, almost like a really warm shower that just slowly trickles down the body. But it's very soothing and relaxing. You can imagine it. So every place this touches, the body softens and releases and relaxes. We'll stay like this for about a minute. As a silent meditation, you can focus on your breathing. You can focus on feeling the body soften each time you exhale. Or if you have some other form of meditation you like to do, feel free to do that. So we'll begin that now. About 1 minute of silent meditation, please.